Me. All right. Well, we'll get other me's on here at some point in time. But welcome to Tomato Talk on this fine day, Tuesday, June 21st of 2022. Almost halfway through the year. Incredible how fast this year has gone. Hopefully it's gone quickly, or hopefully it's gone at the right pace for you, where you've been able to achieve and work toward those goals that you have. That's always been an interesting thing too, right? Working toward those goals. What happens if you reach the goal? Seen that a lot with the weight loss folks. Oh, I want to get down to whatever number, 170 pounds. You reach 170 pounds. Congratulations, you've met your goal. Now what do? Go back to old eating habits? No. Set another goal? I mean, it depends upon who you are. If you're 6'3" and you're down to 170 pounds, I don't think you're going to go much lower. That's not it. If you're 5'3" and reach 170 pounds, all right, maybe you got a little bit of room to go. Depends on who you are, what you're doing when it comes to the weight loss. But a lot of times, though, is that folks will reach a dollar amount. Folks will reach a can't believe I said that. Folks will reach a number, and they're good, and that's it, and they stop, and then maybe they revert back to their old habits. Then all of a sudden, 170 becomes 175, becomes 180, becomes 185, becomes hey, isn't this where we started? That's not really what we want to see happen here. No. So it's that lifestyle change. You've heard that from many of the different groups, organizations, whatever, that are professing, on the weight loss side of things. And it's actually true. I mean, let's cut down to the chase over here. It comes to the weight loss kind of thing. There's so many different ways to lose weight. The most important one is take in less fat, less sugar, less calories, less stupid calories at least, and exercise or move a little bit more. Because if you move a little bit more, you burn calories. And I think if you do weights, and this gets into like some sort of a thing over there, but if you do weights, you continue to burn calories throughout the day. So maybe exercising in the morning is better. But the bottom line is you got to pay attention to what you're doing. If you're just sitting on the couch all day, can you lose weight? You can. You certainly can. If you move more, can you lose weight a little bit quicker? You certainly can, but it needs to fit in with the food. Now, this whole speech here has got nothing to do really with that. It just has to do with setting goals and keeping inspired by those goals. So if your goal is to get to 170, a finite number, that's actually a crappy goal. It's just not a good goal. If your goal is to live a healthier lifestyle, now you're talking. If your goal is to live a healthier lifestyle, this way you can keep your body in shape for as long as you possibly can throughout the years. I remember I'm in my 60s, so we're going for the as long as you possibly can thing. But if that's really it, this way you can play with your kids. Well, your kids are going to be in their 30s and 40s already here. But your grandkids, perhaps even grandkids, maybe to dance at someone's wedding, grandkids' wedding. Now you're talking. Now that's a long-term goal. It's very visual. Very visual. Look, one of my goals when it came to the losing weight was I wanted to be able to climb Mount Washington. You know something? That was it. And then I did that. But just like that number of reaching 170, was that the end goal? No, because I was looking at that as if I could do that. No, not what other mountain can I climb? That's not it. It takes a little bit more so than that, this camping out in the snow and stuff like that. I'm not really interested in it. But I also knew that if I could do that, then there's other things I could do physically, and I could keep myself going for as long as possible. This way, when I do go to different events or whatever, I could look the part. That's a big deal in my side of things, right? How do I go out there and tell you that, hey, you too could get through your confidence fears. You too could become a speaker or do a podcast, a video YouTuber, whatever. Unless I'm very comfortable doing it myself. And one of the things I wanted to be able to do is to be comfortable on stage. I wanted to be able to look the part. I mean, call that what you will. But I wanted to be able to look the part, for me, is that I continue to keep going. A lot of room for improvement in there if we're going to talk on the personal side of things, but that's really it. So don't just set that number. So let's go back to it. Where do you get your inspiration from? So I was at an event last night, and it was interesting because I was able to meet something like 20 or so people, really get a chance to hear their stories. Interesting situation with the whole thing, and I hope I was able to provide some value added, but that wasn't it. I mean, it really wasn't it. That hopefully I did provide value. It's that was my reason for being there. It was to share some advice on different things. But listening to these folks and hearing what it is that they want to accomplish, it was really great. So they, in essence, though, they may never know this because you sit, you tell them that they're doing a good job, you can't go too far, and then it's like, then it's meaningless. But they may never know this unless, of course, some of you are listening to this or will listen to the recording of this. But some of the things that you said yesterday that were told to me yesterday reinforced. It was something new. At this point, I'm still clarifying, honing in on that, really how I'm going to do what I want to do. But I know what I want to do. All right. But what is interesting and inspirational is those little tidbits of information that come across at different times. And it did last night. And again, they didn't know it. They didn't really know me. I just introduced myself as a Long Island Speakers Bureau, or, a royal entrepreneur working with people that are paid or non-paid speakers and helping them deliver their message was about the whole description of it. It wasn't that they were, although one guy wants to join the Speakers Bureau, but it wasn't that they were looking for that. It was something different. But those comments that they made for themselves about what they want to accomplish really solidified more so or gave more credibility to my thinking over here as to why I want to do what I want to do. It's not just the personal story. I got the personal story. You want to hear my personal story? You can go to Long Island Backstory, and that video is on my YouTube page. Long Island Backstory, Gary Jacobs had asked me if I was interested in being a guest, and I was, and was a guest on his program. So that was good. That was a lot of my why. You want to hear my resume from a couple of years back? You got Ray and Denisha on their program. I did a podcast. That was a podcast with them. That was a lot of fun that we did. So there, I got a resume interview. I got the why interview. Kind of interesting. Maybe I should cut some of this stuff up, learn my editing skills, and that becomes my about page over here. And certainly some sections of the Long Island Backstory have a lot to do with my nonprofit efforts, on that. But it's all these little tidbits of information that came to me. Does it come to you? Are you aware of that? You get this adage out there. You got to slow down and smell the roses. Oh, that is so true. So true. The gentleman that I spoke to yesterday, I wanted to join the Speakers Bureau, he was telling me, I'm sure he wouldn't mind me telling some of his story, but see, he's from Pakistan, just got his green card, so he's on working papers now, so he's able to work here in the United States, and that is what he's looking to do, trying to figure out exactly where he wanted to go, what he wanted to do, and all the rest of this kind of stuff. But he said something that was so correct. So correct. And this other guy that I was with, myself, and he was talking. And the two of us were just nodding their head. What he was talking about, a lot of it had to do with delivering customer service. Most of it, though, had to do with listening skills. Listening skills. Not speaking skills. Not body language leaning forward, not utilizing the whole screen, not coming forward, not going backwards, not doing the hand gestures, speaking to you, the audience, when it's meaningful to me, all that kind of stuff. Eye contact is another big one. Oh, eye contact is a fun one when you're doing these videos. I just stared at the camera. I can't look at the screen. If I look at the screen, I don't look at the camera. I no longer have the eye contact. But all of this didn't make a hill of beans difference. Nothing. This is the body part of the day. This one too, by the way. Those 2 ears. You know the other adage too, right? You know, God gave us one mouth, 2 ears. Use him in that in that percentage. You know, also, but this guy was so emphatic about it. So emphatic. He would speak, then we would chat in. He would speak, same kind of thing. Gotta listen, gotta listen, gotta listen, gotta hear what the other person's saying. He said this a number of different ways, and he's right. He's right. Do we? Do we really listen? When we ask for a question on feedback, how did I do? What do you want to hear? Hey, that was the greatest speech I ever heard. I look forward to you speaking again. I'll follow you anywhere. Woo! That's what we want to hear. But that's not what we learn from. What don't we want to hear? Oh, Brian, you know, you speak a lot. That's all well and good, but you speak so freaking fast. I don't know what you're talking about. You just keep on going. Don't you just you're rolling through. You don't give me a chance to hear, to come to my own conclusions on it. You give me a chance to think. You're interrupting me all the time. Yikes. Do I want to hear that? Emotionally, do I want to hear that? No, I don't. But let's call it intellectually. Do I want to hear that? Yes. You'll notice now I'm speaking really slow. It's called personal feedback on the fly. But do I really want to hear that? Again, intellectually speaking, the answer is yes. How do I become a better speaker? How do you become a better speaker, a better leader, a better business person? How do you avoid some mistakes? How do you improve upon those mistakes we make? And we make them by listening to the feedback you get from other people. Listening skills. Customer service. How do you deal with somebody else's problem? You know what? A lot of times people just want to be heard. Just want to be heard. Just hear my problem out and commiserate with me. Say yes, especially if you're the other store, you know, that I'm doing business with. You know, we got a phone call before too. It's like, okay, they came on, explained the problem. In fact, I got a phone call going out to somebody who want to explain the problem. All right. But this phone call came in, explained the problem, started giving the explanation of what it was. Did the person listen? No, not really. They just wanted to figure out whatever the solution was, not the explanation. Okay, it's all good. Conversation ended. The situation was rectified. You know, we had a new credit card, changed credit card numbers. It was no, you know, no big issue on the whole thing. The big issue though was the fact that the other person just didn't listen. The solution was there. That was easy enough. We figured out what the problem was. That was easy enough. That was no big deal. All right, you know, that it was nothing there, nothing there. But the customer service side of it was missing. You didn't give us a chance to speak. You didn't just sit there and listen. That's it. Listen. So what in the world does all this stuff have to do with inspiration? Really? So you're telling me, or I'm telling you, my Toastmaster friend, Lance Miller, he's a good one when it comes to that stuff too. Great stuff. Glenn Rudin is another one. Glenn, I'll put a shout out to you on that one too. Glenn's great. Glenn's guy right here, not Toastmaster. Glenn, business owner right here on the round. Another resource. In fact, I've referred, and we talk about elevator pitches, same, different, same topic, and that stuff. So I was like, hey, if I can't do something, or I think he's better suited for it, you know, he's the guy. Go out there. You talk about the elevator pitches and the rest of that stuff. Good guy. Wrote a book on the whole thing too. Great stuff. Because a couple of folks out there, but Definitely Glenn. Uh, without a doubt. Get him out there, make that stuff happen. So, how in the world is this inspirational? So, if I make a speech and then afterwards you come up and say, Brian, man, you spoke too fast. I didn't understand what you're saying. Right? You just kept interrupting my thought process. Like, I'm hurt by that. Well, I'm upset by it. Well, I'm not really being professional if that's my response. My professional response was, hey, I really appreciate the feedback. I thank you for sharing it. Then I'll get in the car and say, but I won't do it in front of that person. I did that once, by the way. Very upset with myself over the whole thing. But get in the car. Now, and what happened at that point in time, too, was the fact that was a real life situation, too, is the fact that you should appreciate that feedback. That other situation is actually a Toastmaster story. It was a humorous speech. I got up on stage, delivered my speech. Not funny. Got one laugh when I came out of character. So I learned that I should just be me on stage. That's where that comes from. Second thing is that one person, it must have been 150 people in a room, one person came up to me afterwards. And it was a contest, man. I don't even know where I placed, but it was not at the top. One person came up to me. I said, Brian, I got your message. I got your message. I was so upset with my speech, I just blew this guy off. I was like, yeah, thanks, man. Walked away. Should have done is thanked him for the whole thing. Thanked him for taking the time out to come over to me. Because you know why? Because that speech I gave, that screw up I did, that was years ago. It was over a decade ago. I think it was 2007. That's 15 years ago. Well done. That's 15 years ago. You know what I remember out of that? Is that comment by that person, although it should have made me feel better at the time, it didn't because I blew him off. So I felt bad about it afterwards, bad about the way I handled the situation. But that person really truly made me a better speaker. That another one of those stupid taglines is like, oh, it doesn't matter how many people you speak to, as long as you connect with one, that's a good speech. Okay, maybe that's a bit of an overstatement, but I did connect with one. But I didn't use my listening skills when it came to hearing from that person. Because he told me that he understood the message and he appreciated the message. What I should have been glad of is the fact that one, he took the time to come over to me. Two, I did connect with somebody, so they take that away. But three, to really understand that I need to be clearer in the message and maybe a little less focused on the funny thing because it was all gimmickry crap, that I did. So that was really not it. That person is an inspiration. Because every time I look around the room now, and anytime I get in front of a room and I'm going to give a speech, or even when I'm asked to give a speech, first thing I think about is the ending because of that guy. First thing I think about is what is the takeaway for the audience because of that guy. Even when I do these things, I try, and sometimes it's a miss, but whatever, I try to understand that it's about you, not me. It's what's the takeaway? What are you going to pull from this thing? What was the benefit of you spending 30 minutes listening to me over here? And if I'm not providing any kind of a benefit to you, well, then you're not listening. So then I'm really just talking to myself. So it provides a benefit to me because I get a chance to just yak for 30 minutes out loud to myself without me looking like I'm talking to myself. And I get to record it for posterity's sake. Woo! But it is. And all of that stuff was learned by him because of him coming up to me. If he never did, if I never got that feedback, if I was not inspired by his comments, I don't think I would ever place as much importance on the audience as I currently do, because it would just be, quote unquote, a tagline. You connect with one person, blah, blah. It's a good speech. No. Your aim as a speaker is to really truly connect with that audience. Connect with the audience. Are you going to get everybody? The answer is no. Never is, right? That's not really it. But the bulk of the people, not just justify, not just justify his speech, but to understand the audience. And that's what I don't think I did there. And there was another situation too where I didn't. The other situation, I never really asked who the audience was. I assumed who the audience was, but the audience was not who I thought it was. Speech was all wrong. Now I want to know. I want to know who the audience is. All right. So if it's something that's being promoted, this is the topic. If you're there for the topic, that kind of thing. But if you're being invited in to speak and you're the guest speaker and they don't really know who's speaking, find out who the audience is. Find out who the audience is. So before I get into that, let's go back to this thing. Where do you get your inspiration from? You could use a vision board. That's good. You can write out your business plan. That's good. You can write out your marketing plan. That's good. If you're into statistics, like for Maria Fryers, if you're into statistics, there's key performance indicators, KPIs that just roll off of her tongue all of the time, and all of that data, and that's what's motivational to you. Hey, that's good. But all of that stuff I see as motivational to you, by you, to you. Maybe some of those statistics because we get thrown into the gray world. But for the most part, that's, hey, look what I did. I helped X amount of people. I had a 98% success rate. I gave 32 speeches. I've been one person been speaking at libraries. He's reached out to so many libraries, done great stuff. But all that stuff starts with I. All of it starts with I. It's when somebody else comes up to you. There's the inspiration. So that person that gave the feedback to me, long term, that was inspirational. That's where I get my inspiration from. Feedback, whether it be good or bad. And sometimes, I forget, sometimes we learn much more from the negative criticism, that kind of thing that comes across. As long as the person's telling you from a good spot. If they're berating you, that's a whole different story. But if they're telling you things that they observed and they are feeling it's important enough to tell you, it's important enough to listen to. But it's more important for you to let that person know that they are meaningful in your life because they have added to your life in some way. Maybe small, might be big, but they've added something to your life. That's an inspirational person, someone who cares about you. Those people I spoke to last night, again, they're not going to know they're an inspiration unless they hear this, but they're not going to know they're an inspiration because the night was really about them and talking to them about their scenarios. But a lot of those things they said kind of fit in with some of the things that I found to be important. There was one woman in particular, focused, totally focused, totally focused on businesses being part of the community. I was like, yeah, you got it spot on, without a doubt. Another woman about the nonprofit organizations and really trying to make them as effective as they can, through learning and then also through learning or teaching, the folks that are in the program, but also doing events. It's like so super good. She's rest assured, we'll be reaching out to the two of them without a doubt, without a doubt. But all those people in your life that will take the effort to speak to you about something you've done. How do you look at them? Do you look at them as an inspiration? Do you look at, oh man, that person's going to tell me what I did wrong? And there are some people out there. they just they just want to say, okay, look how smart I am. You did that poorly. I would do it differently because I'm me and you're you. Okay. Yeah. Again, let's stick with that. The what is it? The Peretti principle, the 80-20 rule. 20% of the people out there are like, okay, great, thank you very much for the feedback, and let's move on. 80% of people are not. 80% of folks out there really do care. They may be the quiet ones out there, but 80% of the people really do care. Don't look at those people that show up, that give you comments. Don't look at those people that will say their thing and you're just like, that's their story, not my story. It might be. But there are pieces of their story that might fit in with your story. There are pieces of things that they say, that they do, that they say that just might fit in with your story. It might fit in with your goals. Lunch meeting I went to. I was there to introduce the gentleman to Toastmasters, and away it goes. Started asking about how he markets his business. Next thing you know, he's asking me how I market my business. We're going back and forth on the whole thing. It was like we were there for the Toastmaster thing. Got off track quite a bit with that whole thing. But do I appreciate what he did? Absolutely. Absolutely. It wasn't on my agenda, but it was important enough to him. You know what? I do appreciate that. He wants to know what I'm doing, why I'm doing what I'm doing. So he'll now be part of the team. He'll be part of that team of my own little mastermind group as that goes along. All good. All good. Two-way street, all good stuff. We get a chance to help each other. That's inspiration. That's where you get your inspiration from. It's not necessarily the whole big things. It's the little things along the way. That's really what truly makes a difference. Be open to those things. Be open to those conversations. Be open to those comments as they come along. Understand them. Listen to them. Do you have to enact everything? No, absolutely, positively not. You got to figure out what works for you. You know, that's part of it. I get that. That's not really an issue. It's not a matter of, listen to everybody and then do exactly as they say all the time. You're just being tossed around from one place to another on that. And now you're working, I don't know what you're working. You're that sailboat without a rudder, is what comes down to on that one. But appreciate the fact that people are taking the time to do it. Let them inspire you in some way for you to continue on, for you to keep doing your thing. Because, boy, we all run into roadblocks. We all run into challenges. We all run into different times in our lives. We're just like, I don't know. Is it really worth it to do what it is? Working on something now for so long. Has it really come to fruition? I'm thinking about quitting. Huh? Thinking about quitting? No. And I've had those thoughts thinking about quitting. So that's not really, not sitting here telling you anything I haven't gone through. It's not quitting. Maybe it's about quitting and quitting being on that solid path that you're on there. Time to take a little move down a tributary. Rivers don't go straight line. They meander. Sometimes they break apart. Sometimes that leaf as it's floating down will go one way. Other times it go another way. Well, you know what? Maybe it's time to get on the leaf that's going to the right, not the one that's going straight. Maybe it's time to make a change. And that gets into the branding side of things. Where do you want to go with it? The thing is, where do you want to go with it? Listen, find the inspiration. People are giving it to you all the time. Don't miss out on it. You definitely need to slow down, smell the roses, do that thing, and hear what people are saying, directly or indirectly, but hear what people are saying. That, I think, is going to be the key to keeping you going, not just having a vision board. That's great. And all this stuff is a part of it, but so is getting feedback from others and hear what they have to say. Remember, you're giving that one out too. So remember too, speak well, speak often, and live inspired. You might just motivate somebody else to do exactly the same. We'll talk to you soon. Cue up the tomato.